Oh, this is exciting. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first Hot Topics chat.
This is exciting. Hi, everyone.
Welcome to our I think I have my Facebook open, so
chat. Exciting.
close that. Okay, now we're good. So I'm Amanda Wright. I'm your host tonight, and I live in Denver, Colorado. I have two teen boys. And really, I decided to start this chat series more for just personal reasons. One is because I'm actually starting to go through perimenopause and looking forward to menopause. And I want to really arm myself with as much information as possible so that I can sort of be ahead of the game. And I know a lot of you are in the same boat. And so I thought, why don't I reach out to the people that I love and trust the most around health topics and pick their brains. And why not include you in that talk, right? Because we need to talk more about perimenopause, menopause, what we can do to really help not just get through this season, but really thrive. I think that's our message, is really thrive during this season of life. And so the first person I reached out to, and if you're listening to us on Facebook, definitely let us know you're listening. Yeah, give us a wave. We'd love to know that you've listened in, or if you're watching the replay, certainly let us know that. And what you can expect, we're probably going to chat 15-20 minutes. So if you want to sit down and watch us now, or if you need to bookmark this to watch later, certainly that's fine. So the first person I reached out to is my friend Tracey. Tracey and I have very casually talked about menopause and perimenopause. But I thought, why not get her on here? Because her brain is just so amazing around health topics. She is a health coach. She's a mindset coach. I'm going to let her introduce herself. But a lot of these questions I have not asked her before. So I am learning just along with you. And we're going to have a real conversation tonight. So Tracey, yeah, if you could just let everyone know who you are.
Sure. It's so nice to meet everyone. And how lucky you are to be in a group with Amanda. She's got such knowledge, and she's such a giver with her knowledge. I think we both love this. When we learn something, we want to share it with other people. So I'm Tracey Pontarelli. I come to you right now in Rhode Island. I split my time between Rhode Island and New York City. And I have three kiddos. My oldest is, I can't believe it, 21 years old, going to be a senior in college. I've got a 20-year-old and a 17-year-old who's going to be a senior in high school. Lots of fun things happening at the Pontarelli house this year. I'm 53 years old, and I'm a wellness coach and a personal trainer. And, it's funny, Amanda, before I hit perimenopause, I would watch other people go through menopause, and I think, God, that sounds awful for them. Thank God I take such good care of myself, and that's not going to happen to me. I really thought, like, I'm going to be totally fine. And then it hit me like a freight train. And it was so frustrating. And I know we're going to talk about, because I had a lot of preconceived notions of what I thought was safe and unsafe when it came to managing my treatment. And a lot of the medical professionals weren't educated. And so it was really it was quite a journey to find the right partner to help me on my menopause journey.
Oh, love that. Can't wait to dive into more about that. And I think, yeah, just feeling like it's hitting you like a ton of bricks, or like a freight train. That must have been scary and overwhelming and all the things, especially when you think, yeah, I'm just going to breeze through this. So let's go back. You said, do you like know when you were in perimenopause? I think this is a lot of questions that I have, is like, how do you know you're in perimenopause? Did you start to just feel different? Like what was happening? And do you remember around what age it was?
Yeah, it was around 47.
Okay.
And what started to happen now, and it's interesting because everyone is going to have a different journey.
Right.
And so we're going to talk to you about like the worst case scenario of the kinds of things you can experience so that you can be prepared for it. Because I think, one of the things I'll just say, first of all, I found frustrating is after I have had kids, wouldn't it have been great if my OBGYN said, hey, listen, you're in your 40s now. Somewhere in the next 10 years, you're probably going to start to experience perimenopause. Here's what that might look like, just to give us a heads up.
Yes.
right?
Yep.
But they don't. And it's because they weren't trained in it. And if you are still have the person who delivered your babies, they're a baby doctor, they're an OB, not a gynecologist. And so you may end up having to look for someone who really deals more with this and has decided to educate themselves because of the fear around hormone therapy. They basically took it out of the curriculum. So
Right.
the doctors aren't talking about unless they've figured out a way to educate themselves. Now we're seeing that change, but you guys listening to this might still be living in a town, and I live in New York City, where like conceivably, like I have more access to more doctors, and it still took me a while to find the right one.
Wow. So
Um,
you were 47 and what was,
So
symptoms?
the irregular periods was kind of the first thing. And then it was the
Were
hot
you,
flash.
sorry, were you on any birth control or was it?
So I got off of birth control, and it was probably about a year, and I had stayed on birth control because I suffered from hormonal acne through a lot of my years. And so that just kept me and kept my cycle regular. Again, there's probably a better way I could have done that. I just kind of went cold turkey. And then within like 6 to 9 months, I started to experience perimenopause. I think it hit me very quickly.
Okay.
So hot flashes and irregular periods were my first indication, and the hot flashes were insane.
Okay, so
And
I'm going to pause you right there. The hot flashes, is it like, do you know when you're having a hot flash? It's not like, I think I might have, okay.
Amanda, I mean, I used to joke, my poor husband, I'd be like, Ken, feel my leg right now. The whole leg would be covered with sweat. He's like, okay, yeah.
And this is during the day or at night?
No,
or doesn't matter?
mostly at night. I mean, you can
Okay.
feel it during the day. It starts to feel like a flush. You feel it prickly. I don't know why they come on more at night, but they would get so bad that sometimes I'd have to get up and completely change.
Okay.
And then sometimes put a towel down because
Okay.
I sweat so much.
Okay. So it's like full
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. And
Okay.
here's the kind of the double whammy of those night sweats. That gives you the brain fog. Okay. So the brain fog is due to the hormones fluctuating, but
Right.
also your lack of sleep. And you can't get a full night's sleep because you keep waking up because you're sweating. And so it is really like, if I could get a good night's sleep, I'd feel better, but I can't get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
You start to feel like, I think I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
And look, I just kept, and I'll just give this advice, is once you start to go through it, just remember that you'll figure it out. And it might be a little bit of a journey, and it might feel a little bit like if you remember going through puberty, where you're like, okay, I'm just going to have to figure my way through this, but you will, because we all do.
Yeah.
So you will, but those hot flashes can be pretty intense. And then, I had irregular periods. I know people, can have very heavy periods, and their periods can last for a long time. The problem is your hormones are doing this. So it isn't like, some people just steadily decrease, but most women, their hormones are kind of all over the place.
It's like the last like little hurrah for the hormones.
Yeah.
Right?
They're sprinting out. And I remember
Yeah.
I didn't have a period for like a year. And then I had another one, and I panicked, because I thought I was in full menopause. My doctor said, yeah, your ovaries wanted to spit one.
Right.
One more out, Yeah.
So
And
at the point that you started having hot flashes and irregular periods, did you then go talk to somebody? Did you seek advice, or were you just like, okay, just deal with it?
So at that point, and I'll tell you a couple of things that I've learned, but at that point, I was dead set against hormone therapy, because I had, been around in the 90s when people panicked about it. And I just didn't think I was going to need it. So I went to a holistic health practitioner. She had me trying all of these, a bunch of supplements, going to acupuncture. It would help marginally, but not fully.
Yeah.
And so,
did you have your hormones tested at that point, or were they going mostly on symptoms?
Yeah, I had my hormones tested. I mean, definitely get your hormones tested as many times. A blood test, a lot of people like the Dutch test, but either one will give you a sense of where your hormones are at.
Yeah. So, okay. So you had that done pretty soon after you started having symptoms.
Yeah. Pretty soon after. So during that time, so I used to work in public relations, and I had a girlfriend who still works in public relations and works on a progesterone drug account.
Okay.
And they were hosting a menopause seminar for press, and she invited me to come. And I really can't tell you, like, this was a moment for me because I didn't really understand. I'm going to talk a little graphically because we're
Yeah.
girls on this
Yeah.
conversation. Okay. So I learned a couple things that I just did not know. When your estrogen starts to drop, basically estrogen is not just a sex hormone, although it is, and it really plays a critical role in your vaginal health. So vaginal dryness will start, something called vaginal atrophy. So your vagina actually starts to atrophy because it doesn't have any. Your clitoris starts to shrink. I was like, wait a minute.
Nobody told me this.
Honestly, I joked. I was like, I want out of this class. I don't know who put me in here, but I want out.
Right.
And she talked about how the women's health study in the 90s was a deeply flawed study. And it studied women who were older in their 60s. It studied women using progestin instead of progesterone. And none of it is applicable to you as you're starting to go through this journey. And so then she started to really explain the safety profile of how beneficial estrogen is to your overall health, and progesterone and testosterone. I mean, we actually have more testosterone in our body than estrogen. We just have a lot less than men. So it's critical to us. And so that's when and I'll tell you one other thing that was a key thing that I want to explain. So that's when I went to my doctor and I said, I want to get on hormone replacement therapy. And she referred me out because she wasn't really skilled in it. So she sent me to a woman who's now a woman her name is Rebecca Brightman. If you, we were talking about some things for people to read. If you're worried about estrogen still, if you're like, I hear you, but I still am afraid, there's a book called Estrogen Matters. And it's a great book, talks about how important estrogen is.
We'll put that in the comments for sure.
Okay. The other thing that I didn't know, and I think this is important for women as we go through this conversation, because here's the double whammy of the things that hit me. So that's one piece. When your reproductive organs shut down, your production of these hormones moves from those reproductive organs to your adrenal glands. Okay, I know that Amanda's going to be like, oh, okay. So if your adrenals are already stressed out because you have been running hard and not taking breaks and going a million miles an hour, your adrenals are like, wait a minute, I can't do it. I can't do all
that. No one signed me up for this. Yeah.
Right. I'm producing cortisol for you 24/7 because you're stressed out. Right. And now you want me to make progesterone, right. So what I didn't realize is until this happened was that I was in adrenal fatigue and I run myself pretty hard. And so if you are, which so many of us are, listen, this is the magic sauce of this age. As you are probably going into perimenopause, you're also probably going to have kids who are getting older, maybe starting to go to college. You're going to have parents that are getting older that you're going to need to take care of. You're kind of at an age where a lot of stuff is happening in your life. And if you're somebody that's been able to run pretty hard, like, I mean, I've considered myself a type A personality. I run pretty hard. I realized that I needed to stop that. Yeah. And it really required, over the past couple of years, me really rethinking how I operate my days, how I start my days, how I end my days, how much stuff I put on my calendar, and how much I really take care of myself. And I don't think you can overlook it because it sounds woo-woo, but your adrenals cannot do everything for you if you are stressing them out all the time.
Absolutely. So, I love that reminder. And for anyone who's listening that is new to sort of the adrenal conversation. We can even do a separate talk on that. But yeah, I love
great talk, right? Our adrenals
connection.
Right. Our adrenals produce adrenaline and cortisol. And most Americans, I'll just say, are in a state of low level chronic stress, right? Where your adrenals are just working. Back in the day, people were pretty relaxed until they had to outrun something, right? And then they would outrun something and then they'd relax again. So if you think about the world that we live in, we really have to actively practice relaxing.
Absolutely. And then add hormone, the drop in estrogen and progesterone on top of that can make for an interesting combination. So you went to this talk, your eyes open to, hey, maybe I should check out hormone replacement. You found the right practitioner. Did you go in knowing, hey, I want this kind of estrogen and this kind of progesterone, or did you just let her tell you? I know you're a researcher, so you may have had ideas.
I didn't, and I'll tell you what I've learned. Okay. And even my doctor I'll tell you what I've done. Listen, we're not offering medical advice. You got to go find
right. Absolutely.
Right. We're not telling you what to do. But I will tell you, just by and large, estrogen is actually very beneficial for women. It helps prevent protective against cardiovascular disease. So there's not really, and progesterone is like your love hormone, and it's really beneficial. And testosterone is a little bit more questionable, but I do testosterone. So I'll tell you what I do. I do an estrogen patch.
Okay.
And I do vaginal estrogen. So they're two different things. The patch is helping estrogen throughout your body. The insert is to help your vaginal health. And I will tell you, if you're dealing with vaginal dryness, inserting estrogen into your vagina is so beneficial and almost immediately makes you feel better.
Okay.
Like, it'll help with dryness and discomfort and just really the overall health of your.
So things don't start shriveling.
Correct. The atrophy. Right. I mean, honestly, and you do that, the way that typically works is you do it every day for a week, and then you just do it a couple times a week. So I just do that it's no problem. It's a piece of cake. The patch I put on once a week, and estrogen, that's the best delivery system for estrogen. Progesterone is kind of a big molecule, so you want to take that orally. And then testosterone is kind of a Wild West kind of thing. I do cream, topical cream. So I put it on like the inside of my arm or the inside of my thigh. Some people like pellets. I think, well, especially someone who's prone to breakouts, I don't want to put a dose of testosterone in my body and then have it be too much. And now I've got it like in my body.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. The downside of pellet is you can't microdose or change the dose once it's
right. And
some people love them. It's just
right. Some people, I mean, listen, it's for everyone's got different things, but testosterone will make you feel better. And but too much of it will cause breakouts and thinning of your hair. So it's really like, you want to work with a practitioner who's regularly testing your levels. Like the last time I did my blood test, my testosterone was a little high. So we lowered the dosage of my cream.
Okay.
Other things that you can do that are out of my depth, but when you talk to a right person, is doing DHEA. DHEA is a supplement that is the precursor to testosterone. So you could, if you're, you can talk to your doctor about DHEA. But my testosterone levels are a little high, so I'm not doing any DHEA.
And how many years have you been doing this regimen?
About 3 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have an end date in mind, or is there, I don't.
I think I'm just going to work with my doctor to figure it out. Yeah, I feel good. I think the thing that I learned during this menopause talk that I went to is at the turn of the last century, most women didn't live long enough where this was even an issue. So, right. So, so I think like us deciding what we need, as long as it's safe, to feel good in our bodies, it's important. So those are drug things that I did. Do we want to talk about some of the other kind of lifestyle? Things?
Yes, and I just had a question, but I think my brain fog,
Well, it'll come back.
it will. Well, I guess maybe let's go with how did it help your symptoms? Were the hot
Yeah. Well, so the hot flashes, when the hot flashes went away, the hot flashes went away.
Okay.
That took a little bit of time. So you got to give it some time to kind of settle into your system. And then once I was able to get a full night's sleep, I am adamant about adequate sleep. I know I feel the same way. There is nothing good about not getting enough sleep. It negatively impacts every part of your health. And so prioritizing quality sleep is one of your main objectives at every stage in your life. But really at this age, like it is when we take out the garbage in our body. And so when I got my sleep back, everything started to come back. But that's when I think once that got stabilized, that's when I realized my adrenals were still pretty shot because I still had some brain fog. It was better, but I wasn't my old self.
Yeah.
I could still feel like I wasn't me yet. And so that's when I really started to prioritize. First of all, we'll talk about some supplements that are key. I don't want to go too far into a rabbit hole. And I know Amanda's done some gut health stuff and we can follow up on it, but there's a couple of things that you want to do. One is you want to get your gut back into fighting shape. And again, if your gut is dysregulated, it's also weighing on your adrenals because you're causing the body stress. So getting a good prebiotic, probiotic, polyphenols in both food form and supplement form. So like red plant powders, super beneficial. Berries, cruciferous vegetables help release kind of excess unhelpful estrogen. There's different kinds of estrogen in your body. You want to release some of the stuff that is not helping you and make sure that you're detoxing your body. So like all of those like plant rich diet, super important. Magnesium, vitamin D. And then I really leaned into adaptogens. So, different things like reishi mushrooms and cordyceps and, just like a number of different things that help like calm the system. I just made that a priority, but magnesium at night, really wonderful at night.
I was going to say that I've added this in the last year and noticed such a great difference too in sleep. I take the magnesium glycinate. Is that the one you?
Yeah. I love the magnesium glycinate. Yeah. Anything that ends with an 8 instead of an "ide." So instead of "ides." There's a lot of different ones. I mean, there's so many different kinds of magnesium. I mean, look for magnesium rich food, but magnesium at night. You can't, I shouldn't say you can't overdose. It's hard to overdose on magnesium because if you do, your stool's going to get soft. You'll just kind of poop it out. So, go ahead and get some magnesium in your body. Most of us are deficient in magnesium and you'll feel so much better. And it impacts not just your hormonal health, but basically every aspect of your health. It's so important. Magnesium, vitamin D. Yeah. And like having,
I just want to recap for anyone who's joining us. We're just diving into perimenopause and Tracey's gone over her journey a little bit, why she started hormone replacement therapy. Is that what it's called? Is that HRT, hormone replacement?
Hormone replacement
therapy, and how it helped her symptoms. And then we kind of just transitioned over now to sort of, I think, big categories of ways to support our body, right? And so one is stress management, really keeping on top of the adrenal fatigue. And, we have some ideas on that for sure. Tracey shared you just prioritizing your schedule, really making sleep a priority, making sure you're not burning the candle at both ends, supporting yourself with some supplements. Gut health is another big pillar, right? And we'll share, if we mention things, I'll be sure and share them in the comments. So we'll share the supplements that Tracey mentioned for gut health as well. And then for I know we've mentioned sleep as part of adrenals, but give us you've been doing some great things for sleep. So tell us what's been working for you.
So, we could do a whole nother thing.
I know.
I can talk about sleep. So a couple of things that I found to be really useful. One is you need your room cold. Okay. So 68 degrees is the ideal sleeping temperature. My husband hates me for this, but he has to just put a sweatshirt on and deal with it. I actually, it was an investment, but I bought something called a chili pad, which actually chilled my bed. There's all different versions now. They're coming down in price, so you can find one. But something, or a cool sheet, cooling sheets, like anything that can cool your sleeping environment. You want it cold. You want it dark. So I wear eye masks. I mean, honestly, if you could see me when I go to sleep, I mean, thank God my husband loves me and he met me before this stage of my life. So, but I wear an eye mask, especially because I live in New York City, where I'm not in charge of the temperature of my apartment, and it's like, there's lights. I've got window shades, but there's still like little peaky lights that come. So I put eye shades on, and then yes, I actually tape my mouth shut. This is a fun thing, but again, every aspect of your life is better if you breathe through your nose. Your mouth is actually meant to be a secondary air source. Your nose is meant to be your primary nose source. And so if you're a mouth breather, which I have been my whole life, you might find that you wake up in the middle of the night because your mouth is dry and you're thirsty because you're breathing through your mouth. Like that often happened to me where I just had to get up and take a sip of water. That has stopped. And ironically is if you breathe primarily through your mouth, your likelihood of having to get up to go to the bathroom lowers. Something about how the circulatory system works through your nose. You don't have to, breathing through your mouth makes you have to go to urinate more.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
Yeah. I have magnesium before bed.
Yep.
I try not to eat a couple of hours before bed. We'll talk about intermittent fasting a little bit, but I try to go to bed without food, like a full stomach, because that really does impact your ability to sleep well. If your body is trying to do REM sleep and digest food at the same time, it's a lot for the body to do. So if you can just finish dinner, ideally 3 hours before bedtime, sometimes that's hard, but like 2 hours, like just try to not eat and go to bed.
Yes.
And then I do some nighttime meditations. I do not look at my phone at least an hour before bed. I've gotten
you're not there yet.
And the more you do it, the more you enjoy not having it. I will put on a nighttime meditation. So I really love Yoga Nidra. It's and you can go on an Insight Timer, which is free, and just search Yoga Nidra for sleep. Also on Spotify. If you just type in Yoga Nidra for sleep on Spotify, some will come up. And I will often fall asleep before that meditation's even over.
Wow.
Yeah. But I'll read something. I read before bed, and I try not to be on my electronics.
Yeah, that's so smart.
When I wake up in the morning, just from your adrenal perspective, if you can do other things besides get on your phone right away, and then by all means, do not turn on the news in the morning or right before bed. Like the last thing you want is your brain to be thinking about all the chaos that's happening in the world. Right. Before you go to bed.
Need a little like cocoon before.
You need to train your brain to be like, okay, we're going to sleep now. We're going to think good thoughts so that you don't have a stressful dream about what you just saw. I mean, like your brain is doing so many things. So I really do, build in. It's hilarious. My husband could just say, I'm going to sleep, and boom, he's out in like 2 minutes. All right, I'm going to start my process.
Put my tape on. Yes. All right. Well, we will drop those resources in as well for sleeping. And again, this could be a whole other and
listen, if you're going through perimenopause and menopause, okay, ladies, we all remember not having these tools that kept us awake. And so to remember back to a time, like we're fortunate enough that we remember a time when it was lights out, it was lights out. So just go back to that mindset where it's like, it's time for bed. It's not phone time, it's bedtime. And just
do my list.
Yeah.
Love that.
joking with our friend Kim the other day that, I love my routine so much that now when someone disrupts it, I'm like, "Ah, you're throwing me off." So I think it's really about developing a habit that you fall in love with, and then it doesn't feel like a sacrifice to be away from it.
Yes, love that. Okay, so after sleep, I would say another big pillar is obviously nutrition. Really,
Yes.
what you're fueling your body with. What advice, tips
Yeah.
have you changed or just added in? What do you have for us here?
Yeah. Okay. So one is really prioritizing, just prioritize, and this is true of all ages, but prioritizing nutrients, making sure two things well, there's a couple of things I make sure I get enough of. I try to get a lot of fiber in my diet. I try to get, I really focus on my protein intake and healthy fats. And then the other thing that I'll add that's not food, but is collagen. So just like our estrogen dropping, there's a couple of things, other things that happen during this age, you've probably noticed, but our collagen production starts to decline, and it really takes a dive when we hit perimenopause and menopause because it's related to that estrogen connection. So getting a really good collagen that you can take that supports your collagen in your skin. I mean, collagen is the most abundant protein in our body. It's everything. So it helps heal and seal the gut. It's like, it's important in everything. And then protein, our ability to turn protein into muscle becomes, it becomes harder to turn protein into muscle as you age. And so getting adequate protein is super important. So just think that protein at every meal is ideal.
Is there certain grams that you try to hit, or are you not?
So I do. I try to have 100 grams of protein a day.
That's kind of what I'm hearing.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot, but that's just 400 calories. It's
Yeah.
plenty of calories left.
And when you actually break it up into breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and maybe some snacks, it's really doable.
And if you can do like a protein, like a high protein breakfast, whenever you break fast, like so I typically eat my first meal around 11 most days. And I like to do a smoothie, and I'll put egg whites in my smoothie and a high.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Egg whites are great because they're a liquid.
Yeah. You just put the raw?
I have a bottle of egg whites. So just pour it right in.
Raw. Okay.
Pour it right in. And then use a good, I like whey protein has leucine. So super important amino acid to building muscle. That's a great way. And if you can add some fiber into that, add some berries into that, get your phytos in. That's a great way to start your day. And if you can start to get, ideally, you want at least 30 grams at breakfast because that's what turns on the muscle building. There's a woman, I know we're going to talk about a couple of people to follow. Her name is Gabrielle Lyon. She's a gerontologist by training. And she really talks about working with an aging population, which, we kind of like at the beginning of that, when we hit this age, how important muscle is on your body. And I know when we're younger, we want to aesthetically look good. Muscle is like hugely important to us as we age. So you have to get enough protein in order for your body to turn any activity that you do into muscle and to maintain it on your body. Yeah.
Love that. Okay. Gave us so many good ideas there. Protein.
Last thing that I wanted you to talk about, because I know we were talking about intermittent fasting. Somebody asked a question, right? So I'm a big fan of intermittent fasting. And, but I'm just going to put this caveat that you can get your adrenals tested if you've got a functional health doctor. But if you're feeling run down, you're going to know that your adrenals are tested. I just wouldn't do any aggressive kind of intermittent fasting if you're feeling run down. Be kind to your body. Now, so if you want to just be gentle, think 12 hours between dinner and breakfast. That's totally doable, right? If you finish eating by 9 o'clock at night, that means you don't eat again until 9 a.m. That's like totally doable. And then if you can kind of advance, once you're feeling good, is 15 hours is what I've read is a really good number. So that would be like finishing eating dinner by 7 and then eating at 10. It's manageable, right? If you're finishing eating dinner at 7, that's good because you're probably going to go to bed around 10:30. That gives your body a chance to not have food in its stomach. So it's just like kind of building that habit. Do you have to
And
do
I heard maybe moving it back 15-minute increments, half-hour increments. So you're not just bam on Monday fasting for that long and then
right.
it can be a gradual move back.
Yeah. And you can play back and forth with it. So you can say, I'm going to eat breakfast on whatever Sunday mornings, because and that's actually nice to do. Your body, if you, there's really good science around not doing the same thing all the time. Your body gets very good at adapting. And so if you surprise it every now and then and say, I'm going to have a big breakfast on Sunday because it's a family day and we're all going to eat, or I'm going out with friends, right? I'm going to eat dinner I'm not going to be done eating dinner until 9:30 at night. Fine. And if you want to stretch the next day and go until noon, or you're hungry in the morning, eat breakfast. Like it's fine. But you can play with it. I like to play with intermittent fasting. Yeah.
Love that. And thanks for addressing that, because I know we had a lot of questions about intermittent fasting. So we can share some more details in the chat as well. So we will wrap up here. We've gone way over, but we're having fun, and hopefully this is a good, hopefully you guys are taking notes and asking questions. We can't see the chat right now. We did have a question: advice for someone who hasn't started perimenopause yet, but is just wanting to get themselves best prepared.
Yeah. What
would you say?
That's a great question. Okay. So the first thing is start to manage your adrenals. Okay. I mean, overrun adrenals doesn't help anything. So ladies, let's just start to take better care of our emotional well-being. Sometimes I'll tell you, there's a phrase called rushing women's syndrome. And I think many of us can relate to that idea. I mean, I've lived in New York City for like 25 years now. I just had gotten really used to running at a very fast pace, and it became more of a habit than anything else. And so really starting to manage and prioritize your self-care, slowing down might feel very uncomfortable for you, because it's not what you're used to doing, but it's actually really good for you. So looking for ways to do that. And then really managing, getting your gut health in good shape.
All the things we talked about, right? Just
all the other things we talk about. I mean, all that stuff is important at any age. It just becomes critical during your menopause years. So I would say all the other good things, getting the gut health. This is a perfect time to start to play with some intermittent fasting. So really just playing with just getting your body in as good of a place as it can be. But I think the adrenals are a big one, because I had no idea that all of the work, I had no idea. And that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And I think just getting to listen to your body at that age too, so that when these symptoms come on, you're like, oh, this is unusual for me, or this isn't like me, instead of just, like you said, rushing through life and not really paying attention. So being aware of your daily bowel movements, or being aware of what your period is like, or when just looking for signs of things. Right. Because our body is such a good feedback.
Slow down, and your body is always giving you clues to what's happening in it. It's just whether or not we're listening. It's telling us our symptoms, how we're feeling. Our body's it's telling us.
Yeah.
It's telling us. We just have to slow down and listen to it a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Last question. I know you mentioned a few books, people who do you have for us that who should we check out?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What did I just say her name was? Hold on a second.
You said Gabriella Lyon.
Yeah, that was one. Mary Haver, you've got her book here, right? Do you want to hold up her?
Yeah. So Mary Claire Haver, I'm really enjoying her on Instagram. She's in Denver this week. So if you're in Denver, let me know. I'm going to go on Thursday.
She's fantastic. She's a practicing OBGYN. And so she's seeing people in her practice, and she's dealing with this. She's great on,
and she's going through menopause herself, I think. I mean,
she's going through it. Yeah. And then the other person, I'm just looking for the the woman I just.
I'll just plug, I'm kind of halfway through this book. What fresh hell is this? So
Oh gosh, hold on. Oh, why is it doing that to me? She wrote the book, Mindy Peltz.
Mindy Peltz. Okay.
Dr. Mindy Peltz.
All
It's
right.
really good. And she's a big advocate of fasting. And so if you want to know more about that, like you want to follow someone who's really, really actively guiding women through fasting and women in menopause through fasting, she's a great person to follow.
Okay, awesome. I'll put that all in lots of things to put in the comments. But anyway, Tracey, thank you so much for your time tonight. Oh my goodness. I know we could have talked another couple hours, but this is, I think just starting this conversation around hot topics.
Yeah.
And if you're listening and have some more questions, obviously put them in the chat. Yeah. And I'll have another speaker next week that will continue the conversation. So stay tuned. And as always, we want to be a resource for you as we navigate this interesting time, right?
It's an amazing time. We just have to navigate it.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So, all right. Well, everyone have a great night, and we'll talk to you next time. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.